As an RA, part of my responsibility was to make sure that within this dorm, students had a very safe and comfortable space to talk about what was going on in the world. My typical approach was to end the intentional conversations by bringing up topics that people may not want to talk about, but it's very clear that it's taking up a lot of their headspace just due to the size of what's going on and the impact it's going to have on society. So, for example, during the election, I had many conversations about what the future of America is going to look like depending on who was going to win or lose this election. And I think there was a lot of fear from people on both sides of the spectrum. And my opinion set aside, it's important to recognize that different people have had drastically different experiences that have shaped their opinions. So I have even found myself changing how I viewed some things after having it explained to me from a different perspective. And obviously I went into these conversations with my own opinions, but it's typically something that I didn't share, but rather just reflected on after. So a common way I would phrase the question is, with X, Y, and Z going on, how does this make you feel? How does it affect you? What impact has it had on you and your relationship with others? And then I would just kind of sit there and listen. And then rather than interjecting with my own opinion, it was more just get a sense of what they're going on and let them know that they're being heard. So I think that part of the intentional conversation was a great way for students to speak on how they felt without fear of being judged. There are a few things that I emphasized to ensure that relationships were built as effectively as possible in this virtual space. First of all, I tried to have as much face-to-face interaction as possible without breaking the guidelines that are set. So, for example, if I was going out to eat and wasn't in any kind of rush, I would just put it in the group me and ask if anybody wanted to get food, and if so, they could tag along, and we could just sit outside and talk about whatever. Another thing that I stressed was trying to have intentional conversations via Microsoft Teams so that we could actually see each other. And that's just because recognizing facial expressions is so important to building relationships, and an intentional conversation on the phone, you just can't observe or display those nonverbal cues and emotions. Another thing that I came to recognize is that I'm not the only one who is sitting on my computer. So, for example, with this pandemic and everyone stuck inside, I found myself, like others, watching a lot more sports and was able to connect with residents through that. Another good example is Among Us. So this was a huge hit in the gaming community, and now I'm able to connect with gamers because I was familiar with it. And those were just a couple ways that I was able to connect with residents in the virtual space.